Hello, I'm David here in Seattle, Washington, with my grand piano behind me, the love of my life, and a bust of one of my mentors in the world of music, Franz Schubert, right here. Well, the title of this talk is How to Go from a Caterpillar to a Butterfly. How to make that change. And I got the idea for this talk from this interesting quote that goes like this, that there is nothing in the caterpillar that tells us it's going to be a butterfly. That was from Buckminster Fuller. That there's nothing in the caterpillar that tells you it's going to be a butterfly. And I thought, how interesting that there are levels of growth and expansion and of new insights and new abilities, new paradigms, new ways of looking at things that we have no idea that we can possess and grow into. So it makes it very exciting when you think of growth, not only for an individual, but for a group, for an organization, for a company. So when you're looking toward expansion, realize that unlimit your current way of thinking. And it reminds me of a quote from Shakespeare as well, from the play Hamlet, that goes like this: there are more things on heaven and earth than can be dreamt of in your philosophy. In other words, there are actually more things that can even be imagined. We tend to think that our imagination is the frontier of all, but our imagination is only the beginning of a whole new. The end of our imagination is just the beginning of a whole new way of looking at something. So one of the most interesting topics, I think, that you might want to bring up if you're working with a life coach, for example, like I do, is the idea of how can you expand your imagination. Because when you can strengthen and make grow and be more skillful in your imagination, this is going to plant a lot of seeds within you. You might say a lot of seeds from caterpillars to butterflies. So in a sense, I'm going to be your travel agent, not geographically, but metamorphically. So, and I'm going to help you get from a caterpillar to a butterfly, or at least I'll give you a couple of ideas that might possibly work out there. But first, there's another little poem that I've always liked. It goes like this: drop a pebble in a pond, and the ripples reach the shore afar, reflected by the moon and passed on to a star. So here again, a simple little action of dropping a pebble in a pond, the ripples reach the shore afar, reflected by the moon and passed on to a star. The idea of expansion and expanding. And of course the other one is come to the edge, and it's by a French poet. Come to the edge, he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. And I think in the poem originally they said they are afraid. Yeah, come to the edge, he said. They said, we are afraid. So he said again, come to the edge, he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. When I first read that poem some years ago, before I got to the very last line, I thought for sure they were going to fall off the edge. But no, they flew. In other words, here again, when somebody came to the edge, to the forefront of the frontier, to the edge of something, and they were afraid to go beyond that edge, they found out that they wouldn't necessarily fall, but they could fly also. So in going from the caterpillar to the butterfly, be enthusiastic about this journey, and do not be too hasty to go, because as a caterpillar, see, the caterpillar moves kind of slowly. It just walks around on leaves and eats leaves all day long, and it might seem like a very physical kind of existence rather than spiritual. See, the butterfly might seem more spiritual, more pretty, more beautiful, the different colored wings, and the butterfly gets to sip the nectar of delicious multicolored flowers and all of this kind of thing. And the butterfly is very light. It can just flutter around and let the wind carry it wherever it wants to go. It can glide all over the place. It can fly high, can fly low. The caterpillar is pretty much grounded on earth, has to walk around the leaves a lot slower. But there are things that the butterfly can learn also from the caterpillar. Because sometimes a butterfly might become ungrounded or unstable in trying to fly too high, too far, or whatever it might be. So sometimes a butterfly can learn from the caterpillar and slow down a bit and rest a bit perhaps, because in many respects the growth happens from the caterpillar to the butterfly over and over again, because the butterfly will level out, will kind of plateau in some skill, ability, or insight, and on the next growth, and so on that, in some respects it's like he's a caterpillar again, and he's going to become a butterfly again. And on through life, many of these metamorphoses, many of these changes. And the word metamorphosis, by the way, it comes from the word meta, which means a level or plateau or stage. Level, meta, and morphos, which means change. So you're changing from one level to another level. The caterpillar is changing from the level of a little worm type, bug caterpillar with 100 legs walking on a leaf. It changes to a higher level, to a butterfly where it can now fly and has just 6 legs and 2 wings. So the word metamorphosis, keep that in mind. It's going from one level to another level, and then from that level to another level. So you don't just go from a caterpillar to a butterfly and that's it. You keep on going. So, and have respect for your caterpillar friends, because they're living their life based on their integrity. Don't be too harsh on them or try to push them off too quickly to try to fly, because they're doing a fine job where they are, and walking around eating all those leaves all day long. They need those leaves in order to make the change that they're going to make when they're in the pupa stage, which is the middle stage, when they're in the cocoon. And by the way, the word pupa comes from a word which is related to pupil. Now, a pupil meaning a student. So think about the most dramatic change that takes place from the caterpillar to the butterfly is in the pupa stage, because when the caterpillar wraps the cocoon around him and he stays that way for like 3 or 4 or 5 months, that's when he changes from the caterpillar to the butterfly, when he's still and silent. And the other interesting thing is he's kind of unconscious during that time too. He's just sitting there. He's not moving around like the caterpillar walking, not flying around like the butterfly flying, but just sitting right there. Very vulnerable too. Has some protection from the cocoon, which is sometimes called the chrysalis, which by the way means gold, because it's kind of colored kind of like gold. But the thing is about a pupil has to be open to learning. A pupil has to be patient. Like the pupa in this middle section of the metamorphosis, it needs to be patient, it needs to be still. So be patient with other people that appear like perhaps they're either moving slowly like a caterpillar, or maybe that they're not moving at all like the pupa. Because realize there may be inner changes moving. Maybe you're only looking at the cocoon. Maybe you're not seeing the inner changes. Similarly with your own life, if things seem kind of stuck, of course I recommend working with a life coach who can help you get unstuck. But even a life coach will know that when you're on a particular level, it's good to get exercise and get skillful at that level and build some foundation or some solidity at that level before moving on also. So the appreciating where you are, appreciating the caterpillar, appreciating the pupa, and appreciating the butterfly, because remember, you and we will be at these stages many times. I find it interesting that the artists, they usually want to paint pictures of the butterfly, but very rarely they want to paint a masterpiece of a worm or a caterpillar. Well, this made me think, it's easy to see the beauty in a butterfly with beautiful wings, beautiful colors. Maybe it's more difficult to see the beauty in a worm or a caterpillar, or particularly the pupa, which looks very, very strange. And but here's the insight. If you can see the same kind of beauty, if you could be inspired, and if you can look and find the beauty, the same amount of beauty in a caterpillar or the pupa as you can in the butterfly, then this is going to be this is going to make you feel more beautiful. It's going to make you more beautiful, because the more beauty we see, the more it's kind of reflected into us, and the more beautiful we can become also. So in a sense, become an artist and seek to kind of paint pictures of the caterpillars and the pupa. In other words, see the beauty and bring out the beauty in those stages. And be patient when you're in these stages too. In fact, an example I'd like to share with you is a piano piece that I once learned that was very difficult. And in a way, I had to plug along, kind of like a caterpillar plugging along and going kind of like this. It's a very beautiful piece. It inspired me. Very boring, very slowly, and I had to do this all day long, and I'm sure it was a very boring experience for me. But you know what? Because I knew the piano piece itself was very beautiful, I knew that that I had enough energy and inspirational energy to keep going. And you know, then when I got to where it was finished, then it sounds quite a bit different. So that's one of my favorite piano pieces. But you know, I had to practice it very slowly, kind of like a caterpillar walking very slowly on the leaves, chomping away. Very boring, very monotonous, but it wasn't boring for me. It was not monotonous for me, because although I was on these simple steps of learning the piece very slowly, in my heart I was listening to the sound as I would hear it on recordings of other people that could play it. So my message is, in going from a caterpillar to a butterfly, enjoy the steps. Keep a journal, have a notebook, and keep records of your steps, because this is going to make you more observant and more sentient, and it's going to make you see the journey as you're going a little bit more. So this concludes my talk on how to get from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And likely you have many ideas already. Well, I just offered you a few things that might be just a couple more ideas. And I want to wish you a wonderful journey on whatever kind of a transformation that you'd like to make. And I hope you've enjoyed this talk called How to Go from a Caterpillar to a Butterfly. This is David Groninger in Seattle saying thank you very much.